What's up, guys? Coming to you from Colombia with another video chat, superhero chat, and y'all met Lewis last time, and we're here with my great friend David.
Hi guys.
From Colombia, and he's also a big nerd and likes watching films and movies and stuff, and talking comic books. And I wanted to bring to you, and we were talking the other night about David's favorite superhero.
Yes, that is. My favorite superhero is Iron Man. I don't know. He has something. Besides technology, he's completely secure of himself, and that's something that it's also a flaw because he have lost Pepper because of that. But he's cool. He's a really cool superhero.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the comics, she actually married Happy Hogan.
Happy Hogan. Oh,
That's the
Shield
driver in the
agent
second
guy?
movie. No. Well, I mean, I guess he does work with Shield eventually, but originally he was just supposed to be a well-trained bodyguard and chauffeur.
cool.
I didn't know that. Does she? Is there ever a time when they marry?
They don't get married, but after the movies came out, they
Retcon. That.
retconned Happy to the side or something, and then they started dating. And she became Rescue at one point with her own set of armor.
Was she one of his love interests in the comics before?
I think one of the some of the earlier stuff, but eventually she
There's a bug.
eventually she married Happy.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Iron Man personally.
Why not?
I think he's a jerk. I like him better after Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3 sucked.
Well, I'm not saying in Iron Man 3. I'm saying after. But it's like, especially the father stuff that he does with Spider-Man. I think that's really cool. Stuff like that. He's toned down a lot more. I love his interactions in Infinity War with Doctor Strange. I think that's really cool. But I still, don't think he's the best.
You know, they're just copying DC when they have Spider-Man and Iron Man have that legacy kind of hero vibe.
Yeah, but I mean, I also watched Ultimate Spider-Man, which is a great show.
It was pretty good.
One of the best Marvel cartoons recently.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, we haven't had anything since the X-Men.
Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes was awesome.
That was good, but that's more recent too.
I know, but you just said we haven't had anything good since X-Men.
Well, I meant between
then and now.
So so Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Ultimate Spider-Man. Any others? Have you?
No, that Hulk's Agent of Smash crap was just.
Yeah, I looked dumb. Do you know any of what we're talking about?
No, I actually don't.
These are cartoons that were.
Yeah, I know you're talking about superhero cartoons, and the most thing that I can remember about superhero cartoons is Teen Titans, and that's all.
That's the best.
It's part of my.
No, it's not. Justice League, without question.
Justice League at this moment was really great. It's a super cool TV show. That I spent a lot of my childhood watching Teen Titans. I just love it. And in this last movie of
Me too.
Of the Justice League, when I saw Cyborg, it was like, oh, that's the man from Teen Titans, and I just love that.
The movie.
The movie.
Yeah, what'd you think of that movie?
Well,
you can be honest.
It's an entertaining movie, but
that means you don't like it.
What?
The mid-credit scene with Flash and Superman is the only thing redeemable about that.
Yeah, but it's not my favorite movie. I think that the new DC universe, it's a lot darker visually. And sometimes I feel it like plastic. It lacks not reality, because we know we are talking about fiction.
Substance.
But it lacks substance, yeah. And visually, sometimes the effects weren't the best. It looks like Play-Doh visual effects. Well, in my regards, that's what I think.
So here's a question. What is it like watching videos in Colombia or these movies in Colombia? Is there any difference you think compared to how we see it in America?
Well, there you are more involved, or you young people, it's more involved in comics. You have more access to read those comics. For us, I think that getting comics here it's harder. A lot. You have to go to specialized stores
Yeah.
to get those.
Yeah, we do too, though. We
Yeah,
have to go
but-
to
but-
comic stores.
In Medellin, we have like 3 or 2 stores, and it's a 4 million city.
I'm sorry, you have 2 or 3 comic stores and you haven't taken us to
Yeah,
one
what-
yet?
We went
I
there
thi-
all yesterday and all.
We were in the
day
shopping
before.
mall.
Well, forget
Was
the
it in the
shopping
mall?
mall.
No, it's not in the mall.
Oh.
Forget the
Okay.
shopping mall. We could have gone to the comic book store.
So it's really hard.
So we're going to table this conversation and go to the comic book store.
Nah,
We'll co-
get out. No, it's real hard to find comics here
Okay.
unless you order them online.
Okay.
That's another option. So people go to those films just to have a good weekend, and that's all.
Yeah.
It's not something that they love, or they are really involved in the culture. I have a
Yeah.
couple of friends of film school that they literally love. You will have a good chat with them because they are really involved
Well,
in
we've had good
superheroes.
chats with you, so.
No, but I'm not the most wise guys
That's fine.
knowing about
Yeah.
comics.
That's okay, neither is he.
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
well, compared to you, nobody is, but.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I guess that is interesting because in the U.S., we do have a comic book culture. It just is. There's a nostalgia, even if you never grew up comics. Like it's like this great history of America, like baseball and Cracker Jacks and
Apple pie.
apple pie and
And the American flag or something like that. Yeah.
right.
Let's
but-
not get too out there.
But I'm not even speaking patriotic. I'm just thinking of like culture.
Right.
And
Hot dogs,
like old
baseball.
culture, and like you just imagine yourself back in the 40s, watching baseball and eating Cracker Jacks while reading a comic book or something like that.
Fighting along the side of the Justice League.
That's right.
or
That's right. So
The all-winter squad.
when did the Justice League come out?
I'm sorry, Justice Society.
I was gonna say,
It was 61 for the Justice League. I
when
think.
did the Society come out?
42.
I thought the Justice League was first, but
No, Justice Society had already existed. It was like Dr. Fate and Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, the
Black
Atom,
Canary.
Hawkman. No, Black Canary came
Wildcat.
later. Wildcat. They took all the ones that weren't as popular as Superman and Batman and put them in a group.
which
That's
is
sort of how.
brilliant.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's sort of how they came up with the Justice League too. I mean, there
20
was.
years later.
Well, I mean, taking their less popular characters because that's what the Avengers were.
Right.
I mean, the Hulk.
Okay.
Okay, well, the Hulk ended after 6 issues. Iron Man wasn't, burning up. Well, I guess he had just debuted because he only had the silver armor for 1 issue, had the gold armor for a couple, and then he went to a more classic look after that. Little tidbit for you since you're into Iron Man.
Yeah. Iron Man was never really popular until the movies.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that the Marvel cinematic universe has done a really good job setting a lot of characters to new audiences.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like I'd heard
Me
of Captain
included.
America.
what?
I said I had heard of Captain America before, but,
Yeah, but,
very little.
I've never heard about Captain America until the movie,
Right.
and a
That's
bunch of
'cause you're
kids in
from
Colombia.
Right.
Yeah, at least in Colombia.
You heard of Captain Colombia?
We heard
right?
about Captain Colombia and Captain Escobar or something like that.
What was the guy we were telling you about yesterday?
Which guy?
The
painter?
security guard.
You're right.
The security. Okay. We made a parody film like in the 90s here in Colombia. I call it Guachiman. Guachiman means somebody who is a security guard. It's just that, and it's a man keeping safe of a building, and at the night he believes that he is a superhero. I have to show you that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to
it on my
show
phone.
us that. That just sounds
because
so awesome.
it's such a terrible film. It's not a good one. That it's one of more local superheroes. After
Yeah.
that, we don't have any.
We have
You
superhero
chose those
parody
out.
films too. They're called the Fantastic Four.
Oh, come on.
Well, at least the one from
They're
the
not-
90s was
they're-
really terrible.
I never saw that one.
You're better off.
I don't know if
going
I'd say they're
DC.
parody. They're just bad. I mean, I like the first two. Or at least the first one.
Yeah, the first one was tolerable.
Um,
It wasn't the best as far as capturing everything that's awesome about the Fantastic Four, but man, it was like miles and miles away in terms of quality and overall story compared to the second one.
yeah, the second one was. I enjoyed it, but it was bad.
I mean, the Silver Surfer parts were kind of cool, but what was up with
Yeah.
Galactus? I still don't get that.
Yeah, me neither. Doctor Doom wasn't that great either.
Yeah, because he's not Doctor Doom. He's that guy from some show on FX.
We need a good Doctor Doom.
Yeah, please, Marvel, get on that. Even if it's just a Doom bot.
So there's like, what you really got to do is find like the actor that
Is a method
characterizes the
actor.
character.
Yeah. Who doesn't care about having his face on the screen every 5 seconds.
So there's people who, when they act the character, they are that character. They become that character. So like Chris Evans, Captain America.
Heath Ledger with the
Oh.
Joker, like the way he got into that character. I don't like the performance. We've already discussed that, but
I don't know about that.
I just-
disagree with that.
you're not disagreeing. I'm talking about the way he went all in on the character, even though he messed up the character, but did a good job.
Yeah, I'm talking about somebody who gets the character.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm arguing for, though, is I want someone who actually wants to be Doctor Doom and not Victor Von Doom, because Doom's face is scarred up, and I don't need Iron Man where we see in the mask with him.
What's the guy's name? Who did V for Vendetta?
He apparently didn't want to do any more Marvel movies, which is why he wasn't the Red Skull in the Infinity War.
He wasn't Red
Spoiler
Skull?
alert.
Who
Nope.
was? It was.
Just some random guy.
Some random
He did
guy.
a really great job, though.
Yeah. He'd make the perfect Doom.
I think so, but
Oh well.
I mean, I don't know if he'd.
They'd have
be
to
willing
pay
to
him
do it.
lots of money,
Right.
and then he'd have to cross over and everything, which would be awesome.
Yeah. I just
I mean-
don't think he'd be willing to do those movies anymore.
Why not?
I don't know.
It's
He was
crazy.
great in The Matrix and
Yeah.
V for Vendetta, and
Lord of the Rings.
yes, I forgot about him being in that.
Anyways, that would be awesome. We need a good Victor Von Doom. He would be a great addition to the Marvel universe. He could be the new Loki.
Yeah. He
Um,
could be the better Loki,
Yeah, well,
because he'd actually be.
I wouldn't say he wouldn't be better. I just said he'd be new.
I know, but I just mean like he's a better villain than Loki.
Okay, I agree.
Doctor
with
Doom in general is a better.
that. I
villain
agree
than
with
Loki.
that.
And he actually has greater motivation than Thanos. So
Yeah, that's right.
make it happen, Marvel.
That's right. Make it happen. We need Victor Von Doom.
We
And
want to love your comic books. We want to love your movies.
just do it better.
The movies
Well,
you're
the
doing
movies
well
great.
with.
The movies are great.
So keep that up. Get on the comic book side. In DC, we love your comic books. Fix your sorry movies.
Except for Wonder Woman. That was awesome.
Right. No,
That
Wonder Woman was
Woman
great.
was
So
amazing, yeah.
so whoever did that needs to do your other movies
Let-
too.
I think,
Just
it was,
saying.
I think it was some lady, and
Yeah.
she did amazing.
Patty something, I think.
That's right.
Patty Jenkins is the
That's
name
it,
of the
that's it.
is the name of the director.
She needs to do all the movies.
Well, she
she gets Wonder Woman.
She has done a lot of good job doing other movies, action movies actually. She is a really good director of action movies, and I think she nailed it really well.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman.
Definitely.
It's visually interesting. The plot is amazing. The cast, Gal Gadot makes a really, really new Wonder Woman. She's amazing. She's beautiful, and even the actress, right? I don't remember the name.
Robin Wright.
Robin Wright.
Yeah.
She is a
Princess
good trainee.
Bride.
Yeah.
He doesn't know Princess
I
Bride.
haven't seen it, guys. Sorry.
That's inconceivable, and I'm using that word
They don't
appropriately.
run that on TV here in Colombia. We have
Inconceivable.
a bunch of soap operas here. That's a shame. They should run Princess Bride one weekend so I can see it.
Yeah.
Or maybe watch it on
Netflix.
When you
Netflix
come up,
or-
when you come,
Doesn't Netflix have it? I don't know. I have to search
Dude,
for
if you
that.
come
I don't
if you
think
come
so.
to America
We're
and
watching
visit
it.
us, we will
We'll watch
like
it. I have
find
it.
some way to. Well, I have it too, so we'll
So-
find a way for you to be able to watch it.
I have to buy the VHS for that.
We use DVDs in America.
That's right.
Yeah?
When we're not
Blu-ray.
digital streaming.
I don't
things.
digital stream. I do
Okay.
Blu-ray or
Dude,
DVD.
you do Netflix. That's
Well,
digital streaming.
Whatever.
You're killing me, Smalls. Come on.
I don't do Netflix that much.
I love Netflix. It's
the Marvel
one of the
stuff,
most beautiful
Defenders,
things that happened in
Daredevil.
my
I
life.
do Defenders, which Luke Cage is coming out soon. I'm pretty excited about that season
Yeah.
2. I think
And
that's
he's
his
going to
month.
be at the Raleigh
Raleigh
Comic
Comic
Convention.
Con, but I can't say.
SuperCon or something.
I'm disappointed about that.
So if you're in the area, go check him out. Get his autograph. There's some really great comic creators that are going to be there.
I already did a video about that. I'll link that.
He didn't tell me he did a video about that.
Well, I did tell you I did a video about
No,
that.
you didn't. We
Yes,
watched all the other videos on your channel except that.
We didn't
one
watch
somehow.
all the videos on my channel. We'll watch
all
it
the
after.
Yoda videos.
After
Those
we
are fun.
finish this, we'll watch that, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's where it is." And then you might remember me saying, "Oh, I did that video about this, talking about this."
Okay, maybe you did. I vaguely remember something.
It was
about
not
you
all
mentioning
about it.
my-
I just
okay. You dropped.
It was a
dropped
pull
hints.
list, and I talked about what was
Keith
coming.
Giffen is going to be there. J.M. DeMatteis is going to be there. Those are both excellent people to go get autographs from. I got an email this morning that Chris Bacello, who helped create Generation X, he did some work on the X-Men and some stuff at DC. He's going to be there, so go get his autograph. All the proceeds to getting autographs from him go to charity, so it sounds like a worthy cause.
So, David, what's your favorite DC character?
I love Batman. I love those superheroes who don't have powers by themselves.
Okay.
They're
The
rich.
Batman,
They're
huh?
rich and famous, and well, no. I think that what I love about those characters is that they're not born supernatural, and they have to work out the way to be at the level of other characters, even if it's with strength or even if it's intelligence. I think that it sends a beautiful and powerful message about work hard on things. And
yeah, it's really amazing how Batman's able to keep up with Superman and Wonder Woman.
yeah, he's just another human, you know.
And he's
not. He's a peak human.
That's right.
Because he maxes out everything.
Yeah, well, he was born as a human.
The greatest.
No,
human.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's supernatural. I'm just saying, like, he's in peak physical condition, unlike myself.
Yeah. One thing I don't like about Batman as much as they've lessened his detective work in recent films and comic books.
Well, it's more like a vigilante.
Right. He
Yeah.
just runs around and stops crime.
Beats up the bad.
Whereas, like, you know, when he was created, he was a detective. It was like a detective story.
Series.
And, you know, I really enjoy, like, detective thrillers and stuff. And
Have you seen Jessica Jones on Netflix?
yes.
She's a detective too.
That's a good show.
And she's not completely superhero or completely human, and that's super cool about her. She investigates, and
Yeah.
it thrills more. It's not just action.
I immediately thought of Daredevil when you started speaking of Batman, because I was wondering if you would allow him to fit in that sort of mold as well.
I like
Because his
Daredevil.
powers are hyper perception as opposed to, you know, super strength or super speed or something like that. So would you count someone like Daredevil, who technically has
Yeah,
superpowers,
he's not
but-
something that makes him above average, physically speaking.
right? Because he gets the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah,
all the
he
time.
does it. But,
He's
but
like
that-
Batman.
That's
Give
because
Batman work, Batman,
but that's because
and he still wins. And I
he
love that.
he knows how to perceive the world in a different way. So
Right.
he's one step ahead of everyone because of that. And I think that's the real strength of Daredevil.
But Batman would beat him. There's
Yes,
no doubt about that.
because Batman's trained in more martial arts than just the handful or so that Daredevil's got. I think Daredevil would be good. I remember, and I'm dating myself now, but I remember from the DC versus Marvel stuff, Bullseye shows up somehow in the Batcave. He throws something at Batman, and he's like, "Wow, you're fast." And then Batman slugs him, and he's like, "How do you hit harder than Daredevil?" As he slumps to the floor.
Who is this?
Bullseye.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he missed when he threw, which is kind of his deal. He always hits stuff. So I love that moment. I thought it was great.
Interesting. Didn't know they haven't. So I watched this video. I don't remember what it's called, but this guy was theorizing like what superpowers would go well with the Bat family. So he's like, obviously they don't need them, but what if they could have one power? What would it be? And so he said for Batman would be to create Shadow. Or to
Oh, so
blend-
like Cloak from Cloak and Dagger, or
or what's that?
Obsidian from the Justice League, Justice
Or
Society.
that Flash villain.
Shade.
Shade.
Or possibly Shadow Thief too, right? Because he works from the shadows.
Then my favorite that he had given was Jason Todd, and for Jason Todd, he said he would be able to create a portal so he could summon a weapon whenever he needed it.
Yeah, they had a character in the '90s called the Weapons Master, and he sucked pretty hard.
But I thought that was pretty cool because he was like, Jason,
sorry, Dan Jurgens, I can't like everything you do.
He's like, Jason Todd always like is afraid of what happened after Joker killed him, and so for him to always be armed is probably like one of his struggles. He always feels like he needs to be in control of his own life, and so for him to be able to summon a weapon at any time that he needs it, that would be.
I think having the capacity to like duplicate himself up to a firm limit, so 5-10 guys or whatever, would make more sense. That way, if he dies, he's still there, and it would create an interesting storyline. If he died, holy crap, what do I do? I just died again, and I witnessed it. That kind of thing.
That'd be interesting.
Because that actually would help us make a lot more sense out of what happened in Hush than the storyline that they went with.
I still need to read that.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Let's see. How about
despite its flaws?
I forgot the others, but what would you think for Dick Grayson?
Let's see.
Because I mean, obviously, none of these heroes need superpowers, and in fact, we love them because they don't have superpowers, and they still are able to do what they do.
Like, I feel like he's the one who needs it the least.
Well, sure. Well, Batman needs it less than he does.
I don't know about that.
What makes you say that?
Because Batman usually takes on a lot more guys at one time than Nightwing does.
Right, so Batman needs less.
No, if
Batman's
because
he's able to fight more people and still survive.
Right, it would allow him to do more.
Okay. Well, he doesn't need to do more. It's like when he got the chance to get the Green Lantern ring, he's like, this will just slow me down.
Right, I know that. Right, I get that. Because it would just create problems, and I think that's the whole deal with the Shadows deal, too. I don't know that you could give them powers. I mean, because I immediately think of Flight for Nightwing, but his whole deal is being like this fearless acrobat.
Yeah,
so Flight wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. That'd be like a parachute.
I mean, he could have like Captain America level strength. I mean, he'd be able to do more acrobatic stuff. Or...
That's true. Teleporting, maybe? I don't know.
But he's an acrobat. He doesn't need to teleport. He can throw himself.
Nightcrawler's an acrobat, and he teleports. And he was an acrobat before he was a teleporter, because mutant powers develop at teenage years.
Or whenever.
Nope, teenage years. If they develop whenever, I mean, if it comes before puberty, it doesn't count, and I don't want to hear it. I'm looking at you, Franklin Richards.
Whatever. You have anything to weigh on this?
I'm just listening and learning.
Yeah, it's hard to think for Dick Grayson. I'll have to watch that video again. I wasn't super happy with what he gave Dick, but
I wish Damian had the power to die and not come back. I mean, at this point, Uncle Ben is the only person who's died in comics and hasn't actually come back.
I mean, if you don't tell them, we don't want him to come back.
Oh, sorry, Marvel. Forget that last part.
I'm gonna need to let you borrow Super Sons because I think you'll start to like Damian that way. It's kind of like I feel like nobody liked Jason Todd until he died and came back and something interesting was written about him.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with Jason Todd. He just wasn't an interesting character. He was not Dick, and he just was. I mean, it was literally just, oh, here's Robin, and people were like, so what? I mean, ultimately, the vote that killed him was very minuscule as far as the final tally goes. They barely wanted to kill him, and so that just tells you that people were just really not that interested in the character.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wish he had stayed dead.
Yeah, probably would have been better. But I do like Red Hood.
Yeah.
So
I hate the way that they're acting like he and Arsenal are BFFs or something. Because Arsenal and Dick would have a better relationship, I think, than he and Jason.
Well, Speedy and Dick were together for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. So I feel like their relationship would...
Well, and they stopped that Red Hood and the Outlaws that had Starfire and.
I know, but I read there's
Speedy.
something coming up where they hang out or something.
Maybe.
As a result of the fallout from the Titan series.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't understand that either because they never really hung out.
No, like.
Speedy wasn't around, I don't think, when Jason Todd took over the Titans.
Jason Todd took over the Titans.
Did he?
No.
I thought all the Robins were in charge of the Teen Titans.
No.
No, never mind them.
He was dead for the majority of that.
Oh, that's fine.
And then Tim Drake was in charge when he came back. So.
Yeah, so it's great with what they have Red Hood and the Outlaws now. Well, they have Bizarro, Superman, and they have Artemis, and it's beautiful. Like a bunch of misfits thrown together. Those three work together. They're a dark trinity. It's great. It's beautiful. Because all three of them are misfits. And
who's the
they're
Superman
just
character?
Bizarro Superman. He's a clone. He's kind of like
yeah, I know. I just
he's the accident that could have happened to Connor but didn't.
Right.
So, anyways, let's get David back into this.
Sorry.
We go on these long tangents.
Well, that's part of a conversation, of a good conversation, yeah. And you really know about the comics and there are all plot lines that can happen and that have happened in the comics. So that's cool. And for you guys who are watching the video, I think that it's amazing. It's like it's something that I wish that we could have in Spanish too. Something that the people can create a debate on and get involved in those topics too.
But you guys have actual literature that's amazing from like hundreds of years ago.
But well, we did too.
I know, but it's not quite on the same level. I mean, you guys have. I'm trying to think of something. Okay, those are English writers.
Right. And we speak.
Ain't ours.
What language do we speak?
We're Americans.
English. They may be American, but
Americans. Well, they translate those books for other countries, so I'm not even thinking of that. I'm thinking about like.
Classic
Mark
literature.
Twain.
Yeah, like Gabriel Garcia Marquez and those writers. He won a literature Nobel Prize.
If we're gonna go that way, Mark Twain, Stanley, Jack Kirby.
Stanley. Stanley never wrote classic literature. He wrote classic characters, but not classic literature.
I disagree.
Man, you go back and try and read some of his old comics.
It's classic.
It's gonna be rough.
I didn't say it wouldn't be rough, but it was classic. It's a different era.
That doesn't
Just
automatically.
like if you go back and read Shakespeare, it's gonna be hard to read.
Back in the day, the definition of a classic car was older than 25 years old. I ain't driving a Pinto and calling it a classic, because that ain't the same thing as a Mustang or a Corvette.
You got a point, man.
You keep
Some of these
like
books
that.
are classics. Thank you.
What books?
Some of these comic books are classics.
I don't disagree with that. Like the Galactus trilogy from Fantastic Four.
Who wrote that?
Stan Lee and Jack Kirby drew that. I'm not saying he can't write classic
Stan Lee wrote
comics.
a classic, did he?
Comics. He said literature.
It's literature.
It's
No,
not the
comics are
same
literature.
thing. It is not the same thing.
It's not something that they teach you at
It's
school.
a different type of literature, but it is a literature.
Yeah, it's literature, but
literature evolves over the years.
it's not.
Used to you just wrote in prose and stuff, and then you started writing in more strict narrative, and now we write in comic books. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And blogs and YouTube channels.
Blogs do not count as literature.
Well, I think they do.
I
No,
disagree.
they do.
Have you seen this movie, The Martian? I think it's Mark Wahlberg in it or something like that.
It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah. It's based on a book, and the book started as a blog. So I think that you can find good literature too.
No, it started as fan fiction. A blog. Just because you post it on a blog doesn't mean it's a blog. A blog is a short article about a particular topic, not a chapter from a book. That's fan fiction.
Once a week, he wrote like a chapter or
All right.
half of them.
That's also how those 50 Shades of crap got made into movies as well.
Yeah, too.
Just for the record. So
Yeah.
that's not classic
All right.
literature. Now, The Martian may be good because I hadn't watched it.
Comic
but
books are classic literature. And let's move on. Let's move on.
It's
All
his
right.
channel. We'll move on. I'm gonna go write a blog about it.
You said you didn't care for Infinity War. How would explain why?
Spoiler
I
alert.
didn't care. Like
That you didn't. That
He didn't
meaning
like
you didn't like it.
well, I think that the problem with Infinity War was the ending.
Which I think was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, visually and
sets up the next movie, which really
set up the next movie. But when I try to talk about plot, I try to understand that an action has emotional reaction, and I think that there's not enough emotional reaction at the end of the movie.
Okay.
A bunch of people disappear, and okay, it's what Thanos wanted to do, but I don't see the emotional impact of the people. It's like, oh, see, he's going and he's disintegrated, but it's not like you see the suffering of the people watching other people disappearing, and I think that's
they only capture that with a few characters. I
Yeah.
think you're right about
yeah.
that.
It
That they
lacks,
didn't leave it
lacks,
hanging in the
yeah,
air.
it lacks
long enough.
emotionally at the end. The movie it's amazing. The only problem that I talked with you guys is that I think that Thanos doesn't have like a strong motivation. It's not showing in that way in the film.
Right.
When he sacrifices his daughter, Gamora,
That one I'd agree with.
I was like, why is he sacrificing her? And it seems that he doesn't care after all. I even thought that the sacrifice wasn't going to be a good sacrifice because he never showed love to her in the way that we expected. And that for me, it's another problem. Those are the biggest flaws of the movie. But it's a really good entertainment movie.
Yeah.
Seeing Iron Man with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man working together. Because the energy levels of those characters are completely opposite, and when they work together, it's completely funny.
Movie
I
magic.
loved it.
Yeah. I listed some of that in my problems
you
with
like and
Infinity
didn't like
War.
about it. Yeah.
Infinity War. But I think one thing they could have done is had in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, what they should have done was had while you have Peter Quill meeting his father and being disappointed, you could have Gamora with her father and
Or at
being
least
disappointed.
building to
or at
that,
least
right?
building it, like seeing some of her
Flashbacks.
backstory
Now you need a setup
while
for that
she's
story.
relating to him having her father, like she can reflect back and think, oh well, this is how I was with my dad and or father. But that I did think that it was difficult. It was really thrust upon us that Thanos cared about her.
Well, there were glimpses, like in the way he talks about raising her and stuff. But I feel like his motivation, they must have cut that for the sake of time.
Maybe.
That's the only thing I can think of because talking to people who had never watched a Marvel movie, I could see where they would have a problem with this movie.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming in new to everything, you might be able to track the Thanos story, and they do give you hints and clues about things, but it's not Chris Claremont where he beats you over the head in narration to explain everything that's come before.
Yeah.
And I'm not even dissing him because I appreciate that. Having not been able to read 120 odd issues of X-Men before I picked up one. But I think the story itself was thin because it lacked motivation at points, like you were saying.
But I think as far as his motivation to kill the universe, I thought that was good, even though it was crazy.
It's flawed logic, but it makes sense for the character.
Logic.
Well, it's not flawed. Well, it's flawed logic, but even some people.
It's not flawed logic to kill half of the people.
Well, but there are people that think that, at least for humanity, you have to do that. You have to kill a bunch of population so the planet get stable again. And
yeah, but it's unrealistic. I read one article a few months back that said the entire world's population could live in the state of Texas, and everybody have like an acre of land. So if we can all fit in Texas, land ain't the problem. It's more of a distribution of resources.
Yeah, it's more like resources management.
Well, and one of the guys in my small group at church, he's a he does a lot of stuff, but he talks about how the way that we've manipulated like grain and corn and stuff has made it grow twice as much as it used to, or much more than it used to, and so we actually have a lot more food that we've been able to give to the rest of the world to actually cut down in like world hunger. And so I think world hunger in general is like at its lowest.
Right, but there's still governments who want their cut of money before they get the product to the people.
But I thought that was interesting. So I'm not sure that its distribution is more as much as it is greed. But
what I'm saying is there's plenty of food for everybody. It's getting it to the people who need it the most, and that's what I mean when I say distribution.
Okay. Anyways, but I love the ending. So you have like the Infinity Gauntlet ending where Thanos is relaxing after his work is completed. Now, of course, in Infinity Gauntlet, he's already lost. In this movie, he hasn't. He's won. And so it's a little different, but I thought that was kind of cool. And he's just kind of chilling out like in this farm and just looking off into the distance. Ready, now that he can rest. And for him, like, he's done. His work is done. And then like I feel like a lot of the impact that we're gonna have on the disappearance is gonna come at the front end of the next movie.
Yeah.
And so when we get to next May and we watch that movie, we're gonna see all these people suffering because of all the disappearances that have happened. And so
right, children without parents is usually not a good thing.
But you saw like Iron Man and Spider-Man. That was touching in the movie. And then
and to know that guy Spider-Man ad-libbed some of his lines there.
That was interesting.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah. And then like you saw a little bit with that lady with Black Panther, searching for him, and it was a Rhodey looking for a Falcon. I think it was.
I think
Falcon,
so. Yeah.
That was good.
You gotta love their dynamic. It was really funny in Civil War. When
two sidekicks working together. I love it.
And then they really teamed up in this.
But they've really made themselves their own in this film. So,
I hope Rhodey gets healed in the next movie. I think that would be the natural progression for the character if they don't kill him.
Yeah, so I feel like in Civil War he was still the sidekick of Iron Man, but in this one he really became his own because they separated him, and he basically filled in for Iron Man, and that's great. Now we just need that for Falcon. Like, we need him to be separate.
Dude, that would be so cool if Rhodey took over the armor for Iron Man.
Well, and I think what should happen is
if Stark retires.
I think what should
I don't want him to die. Pepper's pregnant. You know she is after all that talk they had.
Iron Man?
Yes.
No, I want Captain America to die.
Oh yeah.
Which is awful, but
but after all they've done with him, it would like rip our heart in half.
And then have Winter Soldier step up and become the new Captain
Falcon.
Or Falcon. But I feel like he's better Falcon.
Well, I agree. He's always been one of my favorite characters.
Winter Soldier, I don't think is that interesting of a character, except in contrast to Captain America.
Yeah, but he just got.
But Falcon is his own man. Like he can do he's interesting. He doesn't need to be Captain America. He doesn't need to be in Captain America's shadow, but Bucky Barnes does. It's kind of like Robin needs to be in the shadow of Batman until he becomes Batman or he leaves completely.
Yeah.
So if he left and became something else other than Winter Soldier, that'd be interesting. But they haven't done that. So
Who's your favorite character in the movies? Iron Man.
I love Iron Man. Black Panther, I think is amazing.
Yes, Black Panther.
Black Panther is amazing.
So
I just saw the movie Black Panther in the Black Panther film.
Yes.
And after that, like a couple of days, I saw Captain America.
Civil War.
Civil War. No, this last one.
The third one.
Yeah. No, just forgot.
Oh, Avengers.
Avengers.
Okay.
Yeah. I just saw it.
So you said Captain America, so I was thinking you went back and watched the
No.
which introed Black Panther.
I saw Black Panther, and after that I saw
Infinity
War, and I thought this is amazing. It's great to see how the things that you already saw in Black Panther are working really well in the plot of Infinity War. Like the force that they join in Wakanda,
That's great.
trying to stop
That's really great.
the aliens.
You really gotta love how they had I'm sorry, I don't know his real name, but he's the white ape. I mean, or man ape. That's what they call him. I'm sorry, man ape. Well, he's got the white gorilla stuff.
I know what you meant.
Zimbabwe or something like that.
Yeah.
I love how he's like antagonistic in the Black Panther film, but in this he's like, I understand enough of what's going on to recognize we have to join forces.
Yeah.
I just thought that was.
Well, they kind of joined forces at the end of Black Panther.
I know, but there was some. Come on now, there's still the animosity there. It's not like they're like, oh, well, let's be BFFs and we'll face chat each
you
other.
know that happens usually in that kind of democracies that they have in the tribe. It's like you have a bunch of tribes, like maybe one of the tribes is not in favor of all the things that is happening, and it has to be a counterbalance. It doesn't mean that they are the villains, but it's a counterbalance morally in the characters, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think Black Panther was the best in Civil War.
The best character in that movie?
No. Well, I mean,
he was one of the
prefer
best his
I prefer
performance
in that
movie.
Performance in Civil War because it was so amazing.
Yeah.
Not that Black Panther wasn't a good movie. He didn't do as much as I would have wanted him to.
Yeah, but I think they were just expanding the cast in that movie.
Yeah.
Because we had already seen Black Panther, it didn't have to be a focus on Black Panther because just like good comic books, Superman, that sort of thing, it's not just about the character, but the supporting cast, and I feel like you would agree with that, even if you didn't care for this particular cast.
The cast was great. The cast was amazing. The acting was awesome.
I don't mean the acting. I mean,
my
like
problem
the
was there wasn't enough fighting of Black Panther. I want to see him fighting like he was fighting in Civil War. And the Russo brothers are just amazing.
Where he's running a car down, that is so sick.
And then when he fights Winter Soldier, when he fights Captain America, beautiful. Like, why couldn't we get something like that in that film? And instead we get this like boring, half covered like George Lucas edit of Episode 4, where they cover half the screen with a giant alien. They cover it with like a subway. Like, why? It was, yeah, they drop it down. The final battle, they fall down and they're like in this subway, and
that's kind of weird.
And this whole train like just blocks the whole screen a few times, and it's just like, this is not the epic fight.
Well, we saw in Infinity War how you use a train to block somebody and then introduce a character. That's still one of my favorite scenes from that movie when Captain America shows up.
Oh, that was good.
So great. You're like, good. All right, we know things are about to go down.
Yeah, I just wish he had his shield back.
Dude, yeah, they wasted that line in that movie.
That line. Those weren't shields. They're
Get
gauntlets.
this man a shield.
And nobody gets him a shield. They just get these two little gauntlets.
All right,
things.
Let's go. If he doesn't have a shield,
he could have had a pure vibranium shield from Wakanda with a different.
Well, now that Fox
they could have used any of the different Captain America shield designs that we've seen over the years. Any of them. They could have had the traditional shield. Yeah. That would have been sweet. Like, he didn't even have to be the circle that he can throw. Like,
well, he could throw the other one too. Just
he could. It just wouldn't bounce as much.
Right.
But they could have done that. That would have been awesome for him to, show his other iconic shield, which he did in his first movie. But it wasn't as cool.
But it was a joke, wasn't it?
It was kind
of. It was a joke.
It wasn't a real shield.
Because after the first issue of the comic book, they went to the round shield because it. The problems you just alluded to being it's not as easy to throw and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and Stan Lee introduced the throwing of the mighty shield. I still love the how it should have ended joke with that song.
Oh, that's
Captain America throws his mighty shield.
But they didn't yield, did they? Superman's kind of a jerk. Are you familiar with that series? Because it's one of the greatest things on the internet.
We'll show you some of the after stuff for you after this.
I think they've edited.
And if you haven't watched How It Should Have Ended, go watch it. It's so good. It's so good, especially their superhero cafes, and now their villain pubs. Those are great.
Yeah,
those are great. You're not a real villain.
'Cause I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. Anyways, I do a better impression of that Batman than any of the other Batmans. So I love that shit.
It's a great Batman. So
it is.
Don't be ashamed of that, sir.
It's because I'm Batman. But anyways. Yeah. So. But I did love Infinity War and Black Panther and all those. I don't think I'd rank Black Panther as my favorite movie only because of that.
But it was a good movie. I think it was.
Marvel, I want a Falcon movie.
That would be awesome.
Make me one.
Or you could do a Iron Patriot Falcon team up movie.
That'd be great. I really
maybe
think
throw Ant-Man and Wasp in there. That'd be pretty sweet.
Before you kill Black Widow and so that Hulk can go all Hulk out in Avengers 4, I'd like to have like a Tales to Astonish movie where you've got like a 30-minute Black Widow movie or whatever you want to call that, 30-minute Hulk movie and
That'd be interesting.
30-minute Falcon movie or something.
That'd be interesting if they did a movie that was in the fashion of Tales to Astonish. Which in Tales to Astonish you have like
2 or 3
several smaller stories.
Okay.
Enough people's not going to buy the comic for that one person, but they would buy a comic with a bunch of different.
Because Iron Man actually first appeared in Tales to Astonish, 39.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so what they would do is, if they became really popular, they'd get their own book.
Right. So Captain America and Iron Man had stories in those before they got their own series. Ironically, Iron Man got a number 1 and Captain America got a number 100. Because he kept the issue count of Tales to Astonish. Or Tales of Suspense. Something like that. Sorry.
But, yeah.
Tales to Astonish introduced
that'd be cool if they tried that with the movies. I've said that they need to do that with some of their heroes, or they need to do a Tales of Astonish comic book now.
Yeah, that would be good.
So that they can introduce some of these new characters that some people like, some people don't. But then you could still have them, and you could develop them. That would be really cool. And then we could get the old heroes and the new heroes, or you could do what DC did and do both and make them both awesome, like Green Lanterns and Hal Jordan, the Green Lanterns.
Hunter Hawk was really cool in Green Arrow.
Well, I'm talking about having both series at the same time.
Oh,
so you get the old guys that you love and the new guys that you love.
Female Iron Man.
But you've got to write them well. That's the only problem with Marvel.
Well, they have one. There was a young African American girl who took over the armor after Iron Man died or something.
Yeah, Ironheart is what her name is now. But it'd be cool if they did it with the movies. Like,
she sounds like she has the lame power of heart like that kid on Captain Planet.
And I imagine they could pay less for the Hulk in that film because it would be a shorter film.
Right.
But we want what I want is a Black Widow Hawkeye team up film.
See, Marvel, you make me forget Hawkeye's even in the MCU.
We really need he needs to go back. Like, it would be great if they did an origin for them. And he had his original costume with the whole purple gun. That'd be great.
Well, he was a carnival guy before he became.
That'd be really great.
A hero. So they could totally do that. Kind of like they did a send up in Captain America, like we were just talking about with the triangle shield. So, I think that would be interesting. The perfect setup for the Hulk thing could be all the stuff that leads up to his scenes in Ragnarok. Like, how did he get to Sakaar and did he have the relationship with the girl? And since we're not doing a World War Hulk yet, we could always do that the Red King or whatever, or Game Master or whoever killed her to make sure that Hulk was more compliant for Ragnarok. There's your movie, Marvel. Go make it.
There's a lot of places. See, I feel like the way that Marvel's going now, they're running out of
ideas. But they're the house of ideas.
That's right.
Come on.
They're running out of movies to make.
Make a good X-Men movie.
Well, they can't.
I said a good one.
They can't. They don't have the rights for that.
They're about to get it. They're in talks to get.
They're in talks with Fox to.
Did they ever get
to acquire
Fantastic Four?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Well, no, that might be still tied up with the deal they're doing with right now. But I'm hoping.
Yeah. So if they get those, they'll have plenty of movies they can make.
Yeah.
Because there's so much with the X-Men. Because that's their big franchise right there, X-Men.
Not anymore. You're superhero lovers, and that's great because you're the right audience for the right audience for the movies. But what will happen after maybe 5-6 years when people get tired of superhero films?
Well, I know a lot of people who are tired of superhero films.
Yeah, already there are people
and they still go and watch them.
They
some,
still
Explain
don't
that
watch.
some of
phenomenon.
Corey does,
yeah.
but some people do.
But
I feel like you went and saw Avengers.
Oh, he went and saw Infinity War, but he didn't see some of the others,
Yeah, that's fine.
like Thor
No,
Ragnarok
I think
or
uh,
other those great films.
He'll
if,
catch up.
if the business is still running, that will be really cool.
Yeah,
That's my only concern, that people say, well, I don't like more superhero films, and maybe like there was a Western period, there was like
oh,
a
right.
reality cinema verite period, and
Yeah.
we are now with superhero period. So
And
let's
that's
see
true.
how long does it last.
Yeah.
and we've really been in the sci-fi kick since the 70s.
Yeah,
Late
but
70s
it
with
hasn't
Star
been.
Wars.
It
Like,
hasn't
not
been
really mainstream.
unending.
But with superheroes really started
Late 90s.
late 90s with Batman. And people got tired of Batman.
Oh, you mean late 80s? With
Which is
Michael
why
Keaton
it was so
Batman.
long between the last Batman and Batman Begins.
Yeah, but you have just a couple of films of superhero films. It's not
Yeah.
like a
Right.
whole franchise.
Sure.
A
This is the
cinematic
first-
universe.
This is the first time we've had a cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And if DC gets their
Properly
act
done.
together and gets the movies well, which I think now that Zack Snyder's off of the reins, I think it'll be much
We hate
better.
the reason he had to leave, but
Yeah.
Glad he left.
I'm glad he's gone.
So, and I'm not sure if Joss Whedon will be writing them. because
Probably not.
He did amazing in the Avengers.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
I think he's the reason that the Justice League went well.
He's a really good writer and amazing director.
Not a great person, great writer. Is how I'd say that. Because I feel like he could be both. There's a lot of maybe debate these days in America about like, you do really terrible things, but you do great things as well. Like, I think you need a balanced perspective on people.
Isn't that
Yeah,
how we
you-
got the president we got?
Yeah. He's done great things, done awful things, just like
Mr.
everybody
Dor-
else.
Mr.
I mean,
Dorito.
I think we're all kidding ourselves when we say that we're not the same. We've done terrible things, we've done great things. But anyways,
That's kind of the nature of humanity.
this
right?
this video is getting about long, and maybe we're winding down anyways. But hope you enjoyed this. Thanks to David for showing up.
thank
and,
you for having
Thanks
me.
for guest starring.
I'm not a huge. I don't know that much about comics, but it's a pleasure to be here, guys. I really appreciate it.
So when you come,
He's going to be an amazing filmmaker.
That's right.
He's gonna make
I
up
know.
for
He's
Don't forget
done
us
some
when you get
commercials
it.
and stuff here
this
in
weekend,
Colombia.
I will shoot my third short film. So thank you for that.
There you go.
I have to show you that when it's finished.
Okay.
I want to show you the trailer so you can share it.
Okay.
And he has an
Yeah.
amazing narrator voice.
Send it
Give
to-
him just a
There
taste
you
of
go.
that.
There you go.
We see you the next time here on Jonathan Sow channel.
Superhero chat.
Superhero Chat here with Jonathan Sow.
Thanks, man. Anyways, we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Hasta la próxima.